Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of P.I.P, People in Property. Before we get cracking and introduce our new guest, I'd like to just say don't forget to subscribe because 70% of our audience is not subscribed that watch our videos. So you will not be informed on the next episode. So click the subscribe button, like the video, share it with your friends and leave us a comment. Let us know what you think, if you've got any questions or who you'd like to see on the next one. So guys, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Denzil, our youngest guest to date, who actually started learning about property at the age of 15, tender age of 15. And at 18, he had his first Airbnb, and now at 21, he's co-founded several companies to date. How are you, Denzil?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, bro.
Thank you for coming down. Thank you for coming down and taking the time out of your day. I know you've got a lot of things going on. You've got some serious stuff going on at the moment. I've seen the Gen Z stuff, which is really popping. You've got some good sort of sponsors and support in place.
Yeah.
So tell us a little about each of the companies, obviously one by one, where you started, how you got into property at the age of 15, and what made you sort of want to strive and become great in the property industry.
Okay, perfect. So a little bit of background about me. So I grew up in a single parent household. I think typically, when you're young, from maybe an ethnic background, you might have like some financial struggles. So growing up, there was a lot of financial difficulty. So I said, okay, cool. I want to make sure I get into something that can not just sustain me for now, but for the long term and for my family. Now, as typical, all my friends or people around me were doing potentially like legal things or whatever. And I said, okay, cool. That's something that's paying them now, but it's not going to benefit them long term.
No.
So when I was doing my research, I used to listen to like Tony Robbins and stuff. I knew that property was something that, is always going to be here, right? Everyone's always looking to buy houses, whether in the UK or abroad. So something that's always in demand. It's obviously can pay, and obviously it's very lucrative, right? So then my mom was an accountant, and one day I saw her papers and there was someone with like millions, and I realized there was a multi-millionaire that she told me about called Douglas, and that was my first mentor. So I reached out to him, and at the time, again, I didn't have money to pay for the mentorship.
No.
But I think when it comes to relationships, it's all about how you can provide a win-win situation. So I knew that he was about in his 60s. He didn't have much time or exposure to social media.
So you have the time and the energy.
Exactly. So it's just like a value exchange. So I used to come to his office after school, learn, make tea and coffee for him, and he'll go around me with property. And again, I think this is very important. I would say to people, I think when it comes to business, it's 80% mindset, 20% skill. Because I was very much trying to learn about property, but he was just really trying to educate me first on the mindset side of things. So once I started doing that, they started teaching me property. Started bringing him deals, bringing him clients, bringing them to networking events, and kind of doing like co-sources, essentially working with him to get deals. Fast forward, I started uni and I was co-sourcing a couple of deals. Then when I started uni, I got my first rent-to-rent. And again, at the time, I had some money saved from a job, but I didn't have...
Is this the job with the...
Oh no, so I was working at Blue Water, so I was just like a concierge. I had some money saved, and I've tried stuff like dropshipping and whatever.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, cool, let me try and get a rent-to-rent. But again, it's about how can you value exchange. So I had some money saved, but I knew my uncle who lives in Scotland has a lot of money. So I was like, okay, cool, if I get a rent-to-rent unit and I manage it, I put the time and effort, we can go half, so can you fund most to it? JV, kind of like a joint venture deal, right? So I got my first joint venture deal. That was really, really cool. Got a lot of exposure from that. And then people started asking me for deals. And then that's how I started sourcing. So that became my bread and butter, sourcing deals. So I went to uni in Nottingham. Started sourcing deals in Nottingham and then all over the UK. Fast forward to my second year of uni, I had a project. And that was actually how to empower people. Came out in the Gen Z Club. And it's essentially like where we have a big community now of hundreds of thousands of Gen Z.
How long ago did you start the Gen Z Club?
I would say, I think that was 2021.
Okay.
Well, that was
2 to 3 years, basically.
Yeah, kind of. Because it started initially on Clubhouse, if you remember Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Then there was like a big demand. Then we had our first event in August 2021. And then our community just grew. We had multiple events. So we fast forward to today, we've got like, as I said, a community of like hundreds of thousands of Gen Zs, had about 20 events. We worked with companies like Bank and stuff. And so we help empower and inspire the next generation of founders by networking events, marketing and all of that stuff. And then fast forward to the Gen Z Club. So when I finished uni, I missed out quite a lot, but it's like a summary. So when I finished uni, then the Gen Z Club and sourcing full time. And then I got in touch with one of my web designers because we was like, okay, cool, there's a big gap in the sourcing market for good quality sources and good quality deals. And that's when he came up with an idea like a property app, which is actually we launched this year, which it came together with. And then also, funny enough, this year, again, I was continuing to source in, had quite a bit of money saved.
Yep.
And And naturally, you're sourcing, you're getting a lot of deals, right? And sometimes
It's just the cash injection stuff, is it? So you find the deal. So for basically the people that don't understand sourcing, you find the deal. Let's say I'm looking for, I don't know, a HMO deal. You'll go and find the deal, and then you'll sell the deal onto me for a set fee. I don't know, between £1,000 and £6,000, for example.
Yeah, and I would say sourcing to me is one of the best ways to get into property because one, it pays really, really well. Two, you're learning about the industry because you have to learn about how to find a deal, how to analyze a deal, and all the figures, the different areas. And through the connections, so I'm sourcing it to a lot of high net worth individuals. So I like to specialize with the ultra wealthy, whether it's footballers, whether it's celebrities, whatever. So I'm now having them in my network. So it's like even people that have met years of stuff online, through things like that. So it's like, okay, cool. Now that's put me in a good position to fast forward to now, where I get quite a lot of off-market deals, and I found like a deal which is now going to be my first project. So this is actually going to be in North London, where it's like kind of like an assisted sale agreement. Where it's like a flat conversion as well. So that's what I'm kind of working on now. So mainly now my sourcing, Gen Club, the app, and then the project, which is coming along.
So when you say with the sourcing stuff, what's your specialty? What do you source the most? Because only some people do like HMOs, some people service accommodation. Some people do build to rent or build to flip. Like what do you, or do you cover the whole thing? What is it?
Yeah, so I think starting off, and this is I think is key as well, is to be a specialist at something. So we specialists at rent to rent. So everyone else is at the go-to sources for rent to rent. When we kind of like, I wouldn't say perfected that, but that kind of became more like dominance. Then we carried on with that. Then what I started to do, get a team. So I had like someone who was focused on that. And I went to source on that buy to nets. Okay. Then when that was perfected, I started sourcing blocks of apartments.
And then you're delegating.
Delegating. So it's not, so it's still flourishing, which is like I got someone else kind of delegating. I'm doing it for me. So now it's like a bit of everything. Yeah. So it's blocks of apartments, rent to rent still, HMOs. We don't really specialize in BLRs or flips. It's just like the main that I mentioned. But like recently I went to Dubai, and now so we connected with quite a few agents. So now we're going to potentially take some operations abroad as well.
Nice.
Potentially start sourcing deals for people in Dubai. Also.
Okay, sounds good. So basically from the sort of synopsis of it, your mentor sort of guided you into this path. Yeah. Is that how you'd say it sort of worked out? Because from before, obviously your mum being an accountant, that's great. You know, she's seeing different people, different net worth individuals, and then you saw the property element from your mentor. Yeah. So from what we can understand from this is you've sort of broken the sort of the cycle of youngsters, not sort of to be out on not on the street as such, but not doing things like for the future of them. They're thinking of now, maybe doing things that, like you said, maybe might be illegal, or just getting a job that's a 9 to 5, and they're not thinking about long term of growing and developing themselves in the future. Yeah. And would you say your mentor instilled that in you a little bit more, or how would you say your mindset developed from there?
Yeah, I think it's everything with life is just having the long term thinking, because I think, and even till today, it can be hard, especially with social media, not to get tempted to, get all the nice things in life, because everyone seems like they're doing really, really well. But I think when you start with the end in mind, you realize that you don't want to be lit or rich for a short period of time. You need to be for a lifetime. And I think a lot of people, especially my age, make comparisons with, they're trying to live a 30-year-old's life right now. But I would say it's like, okay, cool. Yes, you can enjoy it, because I'm very big on enjoying it as well. I'm not saying you should just be in complete, monk mode and not enjoy it at all. Like, still enjoy it. But know that you build up for the future, because when you're now investing into assets, into businesses, that's not going to pay for your liability long term. Rather than, I think people doing that backwards now. They're just just to get the nicest this, the nicest that, when they can't actually have a sustainable income. So I think that's what my mentor instilled in me. And I think even till today, like when I speak to like my younger cousins and stuff, I say that because it's like there's so many things that we want right now in life, but it's like I think everything in life comes at the right time. For example, you might want the nicest car at 17. But then you might have the money to pay for the car, but you don't have the regular income to afford the monthly payments or the this or the that. It's about keeping, I think, one, living within your means, and two, just make sure you got things in place to cover that, even for a rainy day and stuff. Because when you get your priorities straight, it will set you more long term.
I think the social media element of things doesn't help, because a lot of people, like say, show a facade. It's like on Instagram, they've got the nicest car, they're constantly on holidays and stuff, but you know what, half of the time they're not actually on the holiday. They've got pictures from their album before, in the photo album, posting it and showing off and all these things, and they might be making the money. Like, they might work for 3 months and then go and spunk it all for 2 weeks and then back to the grind to have to work for 3 months to do it again, but not building for their future, which is fabulous that you've instilled that within yourself, and you're sort of heading in the right directions to hopefully when you're 35, 40, you can retire and have your residual income coming in.
Yeah, that's kind of the goal, because kind of so this is what I've learned from a few mentors, and that's why I think mentors are very, very key, because like people who are kind of miles ahead of you, who've gone through all your mistakes, they're like, okay, cool, this is kind of blueprint. So I think my first focus was cash flow, right? How can I now, whether it's replace my income or whatever, or live life without having to rely on a job? And that's can be split into two. One is financial independence, so just being able to afford your normal lifestyle, and then one is like financial freedom. So now you have enough money, or let's say passive money, kind of, to be living the life that you want to live. And then from that, it's like, okay, cool, you got your money saved, but leaving it in the bank is going to do nothing. So how can I now either multiply it or invest it? And that's where I think things like flips and stuff is cool, because it's like you've got your money, and you can now turn 40k into 80k. And I think that's like the next step. And then after that's about, okay, cool, how can you now build wealth? Because again, it's all good having flipping your money, but you actually want to build the wealth. And that's when you can do things like BRLs or buy a buy to nest, because you're actually now building that wealth. And then I guess long term is like wealth preservation. Okay, you build your wealth,
Correct.
You refinance, and then just leave my money in these assets, which can then be passed down and get the residual income. I think obviously everyone follows a different route, but I think that principle just shows you that, okay, cool, you've got things in place. Because I think although I know a lot of people who have gone straight to flips and BRLs, which is cool, but what a lot
they haven't got the residual
income. So I say rich, but cash pulls aside. If something does happen wrong with the property, then I'm struggling to kind of. That's why I think it's good to have your cash flow in place first before you then go into the other types of projects.
So it sounds like your sort of cash flow as such is your business.
Yeah, my source of business is my cash
flow. Yeah. So, and obviously your sourcing business, you started off with just yourself.
Yeah.
Which is again a property background, sourcing properties, and then you're sort of having different arms coming off like an octopus in that business to then delegate on. So that's freeing up your time, because obviously we know time is the most valuable asset. You can't replace that. So you're now using the money that you've made to employ people, to sort of grow, and then you'll go and then start a new arm to it, grow that again, delegate that, and keep moving on.
It's collaboration, because again, a lot of people my age always think, oh, I'm self-made millionaire. Like the self-made term is just a flex, but I think I would say you can go a lot further, so you work with other people, right? Especially, so for example, the reason I like the Gen Z Club is because I've got two business partners, right? And we all have different skills. Like I'm like good at operations. My other friend, Austin, he really good at like the vision, and then Poker's very good at like the brand sponsorships and stuff like that. So it's like we all have different roles. We're all putting 100% into the different roles, and it's elevating the business. So that's why I think with whatever bit, like if I was to start my source of business again, I would definitely start with a business partner.
Bring somebody on board to do
stuff. But now recently I had like a CEO that manages all the operations. I'm also like the vision, the face of the brand. Then I also work with other co-sources who find me deals in different areas. So it's just like a whole kind of circle.
You've got like a little network built basically, and you help each other. But it's always better to have 20% of a pie than 0%, right?
100%.
And then if you're doing 100% of your energy into one thing, then, you might be doing okay at that, but you could be doing great at it, having a little bit of it, and then also doing great at 5 other things. So then essentially you are getting 100% because you're getting 20% from 5 different places.
It's working on your strengths as well, because I think sometimes when you run a business, right, and what you do is like you want to operate at the maximum efficiency, right? So when you know your strong point is X, Y, Z, you need to put your 100% into X, Y, Z. And even if it's like, okay, cool. And I think this is where when it comes to business, you can't be stingy. You might be like, okay, cool, I want to lose X amount paying someone else. But I don't see it as losing, because if that person's now going to bring this operation side up,
elevate the business,
and you can focus on this, that means naturally the business will make more sense. So that money you're paying them will be a fraction of what
come back around.
It'll come back around. So that's why I see it.
Good. Your mindset is fabulous, especially at the young age of 21. I keep saying young because obviously I'm a little bit older than you, but and the people that are your age don't think the way you think. So I'm really impressed to see the way you're operating, the way you're thinking, and the way you're heading in the direction that you're going in. All right, so after from sourcing aside, you've obviously got the other business that you've got as well, the Gen Z Club, which is a sort of it's like bringing people together within the next generation to sort of guide them and help them. Expand a little bit on that.
Yeah, so I think that starts out because, again, everyone thinks to be in business, property or whatever, you need to be from a certain background or you need to have a certain backing from your family. So we wanted to show people that whether it's your corporate career or your business, you can actually achieve whatever you put your mind to. Because I generally think that whatever you put your mind to, as long as you're consistent and disciplined, you can achieve it. So it's just like a community, and it kind of started actually, we had like one time a link up in Starbucks, just like young entrepreneurs together, started doing clubhouse rooms, then events. So now we have like regular conferences, events with like 300, 400 to 500 people, and we partner different brands to now educate them on whether it's corporate career, entrepreneurial career. We had recently a real estate conference.
Nice.
But then we also as a vessel for these companies. For example, like companies that we work with, like Barclays, Lloyds, they now work with us to whether it's to get marketing, insight, research, all of that stuff within our community. So we're like the go-to hub for opportunities for Gen Z. So if you're Gen Z trying to elevate in your life, you kind of come through us type of thing. That's what
we'll put the link for your Gen Z up down below, so anyone that's looking to sort of change their lifestyle or change their vision, really, they can come and join and hopefully take something away from it. I'm sure they'll take a lot away from this podcast itself, because you're telling them a lot of how they can change their lifestyle, and anyone can change. You just have the mindset, the willpower, and the get up and go. It's no good just thinking about it, talking about it. You're putting into action.
But I think as well though with that is, because again, on social media, they do say a lot of, okay, cool, think it and believe it, which can be true, but I think they don't realize it's like a whole process, right? Because yes, okay, cool, you have the mindset shift, but if your environment hasn't changed, it's very difficult. So I would say that you need to have the mindset shift, you need to have a plan, because without a plan, you'll go nowhere type of thing.
Correct.
But then to execute that plan, you need to have that constant action. Because again, a lot of people will come to you saying, Denzil, I'm trying to start a sourcing business. I'll be like, cool. After a month, they've given up. I'll say, how many agents have you called? They'll be like, 10. I'll be like, of course it's not going to work.
Yeah, it's called 10 a week, mate.
It's like the law of averages. The more you do, the more you achieve. And I think it's the environment as well, because when you have things like the Gen Z Club or other communities, or just like networking, like people in the community, you know that, okay, cool, everyone goes through the same L's, you know, everyone gets deals that fall through, this and that. So it's about how can you be consistent. I think in life, generally, if you're consistent for a long enough period of time at high volumes, so example, like you're calling 100 agents a week for 3 months, it's literally impossible that you won't find a deal.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's about just Jerry Sigto. But I think a lot of people like the idea of something.
Yes.
They'll try it out here and there for like 5-10 minutes,
and then pack it in. But it's similar. It's a similar sort of concept with property, which I feel it's like a saying that I sort of use, and a lot of people in property do. It's like, you know, when they say like it's time in the market, not timing the market. But it's the same with your career. Like if you go hard at something for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you're going to see results. If you go for something for 1 day, 1 week, or 1 month, you might not see the results straight away, because you need to put the work in. But you know, this company's been going since 2016. It didn't start yesterday, you know. And I've got a business partner in this as well, because again, I see the value that we both bring different things to the table. I used to work for a corporate company. He used to work for independent. So we brought different values together, and we've sort of merged it, and we've grown. Again, we've got separate arms to the business, because that brings different values to and bring different people on board. So what you're saying, you're hitting the nail on the head, and you're starting early, so you're ahead of the curve, because most people won't start until they're 25, 26, 30, 35. So it's fabulous to see.
I want to touch on that as well, because you said 2016, right, and you got like a really cool shop, but people might just see the shop and think it's overnight, but it's 2023 now, so that's 6 years. And similar with sourcing, although yes, people see me source deals, all that stuff, but if I would learn about it from 15, technically I've been in it for about 5-6 years. Just like the first 3 years, it was. I remember my first deal. This is what I tell you, my first deal took me like 6 months to find. Well, see, now I can source deals regularly, but my first deal was 6 months. But
because you built the network, you built the contacts, you know, you built the knowledge. You know, you now have the know-how and the people around you to be able to get it. So it's not like you've just woken up to say, "I'll be a sourcer. I'm gonna go and make a $6,000 deal." It doesn't work like that. And as you said, you know, we didn't start off with this office. When we started, we had a little news office, you know, tucked away, hidden away, that most people couldn't find the office. And now obviously moved on, got bigger office. This is like 3.5 times the first office that we had. You know, it was just 2 of us at the beginning. We got eight people on our team now. So, you know, like you say, it's not overnight. Things do happen. You have to be patient, be persevered. You know, persistence overcomes resistance at the end of the day. And some people have a mental resistance as well, that they sort of put up a block in their own mind, you know, like it's like sort of a little devil on their shoulder talking to them, "Oh, this is low, oh, you've already called, like you said, 10 people and you've had 10 rejections." That 11th one could be the deal.
Exactly.
You've just got to keep persevering. I wanted to sort of touch again, bringing it back a little bit to your first Airbnb, because obviously that was quite a few years ago now. And Airbnb was still new then. What sort of pushed you in that? Was there something that sort of you saw, or did someone sort of prompt you to go in that direction, or what made you want to do in that? Because you were still at uni.
So I think although sourcing was cool, it was a bit unreliable, and I think what's very, very important with cash is to have predictable income, knowing that, okay, cool, every single month. I know, for example, if I don't do what the business I'm doing this month, we're not getting paid, right? So it's about how to have predictable income. So that's where I think Airbnb or rent-to-rent Airbnb is what kind of stood out to me. Now, I feel like as well, with that, there was many benefits. Because I was at uni, although it was getting a regular income, obviously having an Airbnb at uni was cool, so I could bring the friends around sometimes. When it was,
Bring the girls around.
yeah. so like it's like a good thing to have there on the side. And I think like obviously, but the only issue with that was, and this is something I always share, like the highs and lows. So the reason I stopped that after, I'll say I think after a year is because we got that, I think in 2020, right? Lockdown happened, I think it was 2020 April.
Yeah.
So like then Airbnb was like trying to stop our bookings and this and that, and then what was happening? It was paying out a lot of money, but wasn't getting as much coming in.
Outgoings were out there, and income
wasn't going in, and that's what I think. But there's nothing wrong with that. I think people always like they're scared to share their wins, but I say their losses. But like that was a loss to me. But then that now made me pivot to focus on sourcing, which now made the sourcing business flourish. But again, I know people who have one of my friends who've done rent to rent, and they've scaled it, and that's good for them because it's like everyone has different fields. I think people always think, okay, cool. If one thing doesn't work, that's the end of the world. But sometimes that's like a redirection into something else.
It helps with the growth as well, isn't it? And obviously it's a lesson. If you let that L define you and you sort of pack it in, that's when it's an L.
Exactly.
But if you let that L become a lesson for you and you move on, like you say, pivot, change, or make change within that same business model that you have, then you're excelling because it's not a loss because you've learned from it. That you're not gonna have that same mistake happen to you again. So you're not.
And it even helped me then. And this is what I say, like you got to use everything in life. Like I'm a very big advocate of no matter what it is. Like although we want it right now, everything happens for you at the right time. So like so even with that, right, me learning what went wrong. Now when I started focusing on sourcing for rent to rent clients, again with sourcing, you can't just source a deal and take money. You got to generally think, okay, cool. How can I provide value for my client and generally over deliver? So like I think all the mistakes I made for that unit. So I see it as God was preparing me to be like a good rent to rent sourcer. So now I can tell my clients, make sure you avoid this or make sure you avoid that because this is a mistake that I made.
Correct.
And this can prevent you from making a mistake. If that ever happened to me, I could just source them any random deal and then
it's like you're screwing them type of thing. They won't ever come back to you again because like Denzil provided me with a shit deal. I paid him and he just walked away.
Exactly.
But now you built that relationship, you keep it going and then you can do more business in the future, which is fabulous as well. Where do you see yourself going now? But you've got obviously the Gen Z stuff is going swimmingly. You know, you build your big network, your people, your probably network is growing by the day. And you obviously experienced the Airbnb side. Now you're still full steam ahead with the sourcing. Where are you looking to take? Obviously, long term, we know you want to have the financial freedom, so that gives you the time freedom and create your legacy within the wealth for your future generations. Yeah. But where is it that you want to take your business next? What's the next step for you?
So I think sourcing is to expand operations to Dubai as well, and to have like I want to have 80% of the business with like the ultra wealthy, and 20% just like the regular other deals. So I want us to be like known as the go-to people for, you know, ultra wealthy footballers. That's why I want us to be like specialists in.
Okay, for sourcing.
And Gen Z Club, I think right now we've kind of dominated the London sector and Birmingham.
Okay.
For us to be like, you know, nationwide. And again, similar.
So
UK, but also as well, we're looking to potentially do an event this time next year in Dubai as well.
Fabulous.
So potentially expand our community there. And just impact, man. Like I think, again, a lot of these things happened a lot quicker than I thought they would, which is a good thing. But it's about, I want that long-term impact. I don't want to just like make some money here and whatever. I want to generally be able to help people because what's really, really happy for me, like for example, even yesterday I was out in London, someone came up to me and was like, Denzil, I've been following you. You guys have changed my life.
Feel good in it?
Feel good. Because although yes, people like to do stuff for the clout and this, I generally like seeing people because I think when I was at the start and, you know, going through financial struggle with my family, there were generally people who used to help us and change your life for the better. So now knowing that I can help people, I was going to do that on scale because I think there's a lot of people right now in the world with a lot of potential willing that direction, that support. So I just want to
definitely
help as many people as I can to get out of their situation because it's not just going to impact them, it's going to impact their family and their friends as well. So it's like the ripple effect. Because for example, like the person, my mentor who helped me has now allowed me to help hundreds of thousands of Gen Zs through whatever. So it's like, if I can help that one person, you can now help another 20,000.
You're making waves.
It's making waves, do you know what I mean? So that's kind of how to go with that as well.
Brilliant. Sounds good, man. It sounds good. You really got your head screwed on for a young individual. I'm proud of you, to say the least, to be fair. And I'm happy that we've sort of come across each other's path. And we met on social media.
Social media,
Yeah, but that's from positive stuff, you know, not all this showing off and being flashy. All right, you might have a few pictures of you being on holiday and stuff, but that's little bits of rewarding yourself for the hard work you've done. But most of your stuff is to do with helping other individuals. You know, I see a lot of the stuff that you do. And what you're saying, what you're preaching is what you do. I can sort of vouch for that for everything that I've seen. So thank you very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you on our podcast. And we'll put all the information down below, guys. So thank you again for tuning in, folks. It's been a great podcast with, again, our youngest guest to date. He's very knowledgeable. So guys, if you're Gen Z and you want to literally change your life and turn it around, I'll put all the information below. Follow Denzil, get involved with the Gen Z Club. You could change your life for the better. Thank you, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.